All right. So now we're at the point where we can go ahead and look at the enlarged plans and the interior elevation plans and start annotating those. So let's go to that sheet. And here's where we left off from the last video. Something I want to point out is, so we created our callouts of the enlarged plans and we placed them on the sheet, but we haven't taken time to make them look right. So something I'm going to point out is they're called an enlarged plan because we usually blow them up to a bigger scale than the floor plan. So if you look right now, that's not happening. Right now, these are just 1/4 inch scale, and our furnishings plan is also that same scale. So we want to blow these up so we can put more detail in these plans. So let's just pick one of these. I'm going to move it over. I'm going to double click to activate it. I'm going to do a couple things. First thing is I hate seeing the crop region, so I'm going to shut off the crop. Oops. I accidentally shut off the cropping. We want to keep the cropping on, but shut off the crop region. There we go. And now we also want to change the scale to one, let's see. If we're at a 1/4 inch scale now, let's just go up to, let's go 3/8 inch. So it'll make it a little bigger. And then everything else looks pretty good. I don't see section markers through here, but let's turn on our visibility graphics dialog. Let's just make sure, let's go to the annotation category and go to S's. And you can see sections are shut off. That's how they should be. But we do want to show our floors. It's annoying that I don't see the floor. So let's go to F for floor. And you can see the surface pattern is hidden. So let's click on that and clear the overrides and click OK and apply. And basically, let's apply the same graphic settings as we did the furnishings plan. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to turn this to a coarse scale so that we don't see all the layers in the wall. Then we'll go back to visibility graphics, and let's go to the walls, and the cut pattern, let's override that with a solid pattern, and let's make the solid color light gray. Click OK and OK. There we go. So now things look nice. Something's up with our floor. It looks like our finished floor is carpet. It's not all the way to the wall. So let's edit that real quick and drag it to the wall. Yours is probably not like that. Looks like I just made a mistake. So here's our enlarged living room. The other thing it needs is it needs a room tag. So I'm just going to use the tag command. And it's wanting to tag the floor instead of the room. Maybe let's use the tag all command. And let's go to room. And we'll use the name only and click OK. And there we go. It put the living room tag in there. Oh, the other thing we need to change is if you go to the visibility graphics again and we go to floors, and we wanted to make those halftone. So let's do that. Click OK. And there our floors aren't so aggressive to look at. All right, so there's the living room. Now the trick is let's double click outside of the view and it'll deactivate the view. The other trick is now we need to do this to all the other views. And this again is where view templates are important. So I'm going to find this view over in the browser over here. So this is our living enlarged plan. So let's find that living enlarged plan. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to create a view template from this view. So we'll take all of the settings from this view and we'll make it a template. So click that button and we'll name it. Let's call it enlarged plans. Click OK. And now it brings up all these settings. We'll just keep them the way they are and click OK. And now it's made a view template for us. So now all we have to do is click on this view. And over here, we're going to assign that template that we just created from this view. We need to assign it to the view. So you click on the view, and over here in its properties down at the bottom where it's under identity data, It says view template none. Let's click on none and let's assign the one we just made. We called it interior. No, we called it enlarged plans. So let's click OK. And now that view template is permanently assigned to this view. We want to do that with all of the views. So I'm going to control click all of these views, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to assign them the enlarged plan view template and click OK. Now, do you see how it changed the scale and all the graphics settings, and you didn't have to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times? It saves a lot of time. So now that all of our views are looking good, the thing that you do have to do is you have to tag all of them. So you'll need to go in and you're going to need to tag the room names in all of these. So room name only. Okay. And then you also need to turn off the crop region for each one. So I'm not going to do this. We don't need to do this together. I'm going to pause really quickly and make those changes. All right, so now I've gone ahead and I've edited all the views to have no crop region, and I put the name of the rooms in there. So I'm going to drag these off my sheet because right now it's kind of a mess. And we want to start, by the end of this, we will want to start organizing our sheets nicely. So let's just start with this primary bathroom, since we've already got the interior elevations for it. So one of the reasons we do an enlarged plan is so that we can note things on the plan, and also so that we can show the elevation markers. So right now the elevation markers aren't showing. So if you had to guess what's wrong here, where would you fix that if we want to show the elevation markers? So I'm going to activate the view, and if you guessed the visibility graphics settings, you're right. So now if I open the visibility graphics dialog box, so I activated the view and I've opened up its visibility graphics, and now the problem is you're going to see everything's grayed out and you can't actually change anything. The reason it's like that is because we just applied a view template to this view. So I can no longer individually control this view. I have to change the view template in order to control this view. So if I'm selected on the view, normally I would open the visibility graphics and I would change what I need to change. I would go into annotations and I'd look for the elevations and I would turn this on. See how it's turned off? But I can't turn it on. So I'm going to cancel out of that. You just have to go one step further. Since you've applied the view template, you need to go over to the views properties over here. Instead of clicking on the visibility graphics dialog box, you need to come down here to the view template and click on the view template dialog box. And then that brings up all of the view settings. So the parameters you see over here, most of them are now over here and are controlled by the view template. So normally you click on the visibility graphics override here in the actual view. Instead, you're going to pick the visibility graphics override here instead in the template. So now we're looking at the template settings, and this is now the same dialog box you would normally change, but now it's changing it for the template. So if I hit annotation categories and I go down to the elevations, I can turn the elevations on and click OK and click OK. And now do you see how it turns it back on? And now if you look in the primary bedroom, you can see it's turned on for the primary bedroom. It turned on that setting for all of the views that have that view template applied to it. So that's the process you would use if you want to edit the view template for all of the views after you've created it. That's how you edit it. All right, so now if we look, now our room tag is in the way. So we're just going to move our room tag out of the way, and we'll keep our interior elevations tag right in the center. So now that's looking good. Now the other thing we need to do is let's talk about callouts. So the other thing you'll want to know about is how to annotate a view. So we've talked about tagging things, controlling the visibility, but now let's talk about if you want to draw lines in, if you want to add text, how do you do that? So let's enter the view. And if you go to the Annotate tab, this is where you find most of the drawing items. So you could draw what's called a detail line. So maybe we want to draw in a trash can, let's say. Let's hit the detail line command. And if you come over here, you have your sketch tools. So let's do a round trash can. So let's do a little circle. And let's say we're just going to put it in the corner of the room. So I'm going to click the center of the circle. And let's say it's going to be a 10-inch trash can. So we'll do a radius of 5 inches and hit enter. And now here's our trash can. So what you need to keep in mind is because it's an annotation and you just drew lines, this isn't a 3D object. It's only in this view that you'll ever see this trash can. So you got to keep that in mind. Like if I was to do a 3D view of this, so if I click on these two vanities and I click this little section box button, like I taught you to do, we can see inside the bathroom. Oops. I'm going to grab the section box. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And then I'm going to pull it out so that I can see over where I drew the trash can. And you can see it doesn't actually exist. It doesn't show up anywhere because it only exists in that view because it's just a 2D annotation. So you only really use annotations if you just need something in one view. If I wanted to do something else in here, and do you see how it doesn't show up here in our elevations either because it's not a 3D object. However, if we went in and we chose component and we placed a component, let's see if there's a toilet loaded in already. There's no toilet. Let's just do, what do we have in here? Let's put a chair in the bathroom for no reason. If I take a chair and I place the chair, oh, this is another thing that we have shut off. We have our furniture shut off. So I placed it and that error told me that it placed it, but you can't see it. So let's go ahead and look. Again, we have to go over here, hit the view template button, and then go into the visibility graphics dialog. Let's go to the furniture and turn the furniture on. Click OK and OK. And now we can see the chair. So furniture does need to be turned on because furniture should definitely show up in your enlarge plan. But now do you see how I can move the chair around? And when I move the chair, you can see it also puts it in your elevations because it's actually a 3D model. You can see it on this wall and you can see it in this view. So if you want something to show up in all of your views, you need to put it in 3D. If you only want it to show up in one view, you can fake stuff by just drawing it yourself. The other thing to note is if you click on the circle and you look up here, you can pick which kind of line you're using. So if I want to use a center line and have it be a dashed, you could do that. I could have it be hidden lines. I could have it be a medium thickness line. So right now we have our line thicknesses turned off. So if I go back into view and I turn my line thicknesses back on, you can see the thickness of this line right now. And if I come up here, I can change it to regular lines, which are thin, medium lines, or I could go to wide lines and make it really thick. But we're not cutting through the trash can, so I would probably just use normal lines for this. Oh no, but they're green, so we don't want green lines. Maybe thin lines would be fine. Yeah, there we go. So now we've drawn our trash can. But what you've noticed is it's not masking out the floor pattern, so it kind of looks fake, like we just drew it. So that's where filled regions come into play. So now if we go back to the annotation tab next to the detail lines is something called a region, a filled region. So if you click that, it takes you into a sketch mode, and we can draw the same trash can that we did before with a 5-inch radius. And I can still click the line, and I can change it to whatever line type I want. We'll keep it on thin lines. And then in addition to those settings, if you look over at its properties, actually, let's just finish the sketch. Let's click finish. And then you can click on the filled region and look at its properties. And you can see there's different kinds of filled regions. Like we could do solid black, or I could change it to diagonal crosshatch pattern if you wanted it to have a pattern. So a filled region is when you want to create something that has a pattern. So you can click through the patterns here. Patterns are, these filled region patterns are like any other family. You can also edit the type, and you could duplicate it, and we could make this, we could make any sort of pattern. We could click and make it any color or pattern we want by editing it. I'm going to cancel out of there. You don't really need to know how to do that for this class, but I just wanted you to know it's like anything else that's a system family. You can edit the pattern it's showing. The next thing you can learn to do is, besides a filled region, which is the top one, there's also a masking region. So if you wanted it to just be white, you could do a masking region. So let's do that same thing, 5 inches, and finish the sketch. Now it's just filled with white instead of a pattern, which is probably what we want. So we'll delete all this, and we'll just put the garbage can right there. And now let's go to the Annotate tab and see what else we can do. Another thing you'll want to know about is the text command. So if you click text, you can now come down here, click, and let's just type out trash can. And then when you're done, you just click outside, and then you can hit escape, and it'll take you out of the text command. So now here's the trash can, and the text can be changed just like any other system family. If you click on the text and you look over here, you can see that this is 3 30 seconds high text, and the font is Trebuchet MS. If we want to change it to a 1/4 inch text, we can do that, and it gets really big. Or we can change it back to the 330 seconds. If you want to edit the type, you can also duplicate it. We could do 1/16. So let's rename it 1/16. Click OK. And now see how it says text font size. You can change it from 330 seconds to 1/16. You could also change the font if you wanted to. I'm going to keep the font the same. And then there's other attributes that you can play around with if you'd like. But I'm just going to click OK. And now we made a smaller text here. The other thing you can do with the text selected is you can change the justification horizontally and vertically. And then you can also add an arrow. So I'm going to there's a straight arrow or a curved arrow. I'm going to add a straight arrow. And then I'm going to point it over here to the trash can. So now I've called out the trash can. I also really hate this arrow. So if you click on the text again and you go to edit type, one of the things you can change is the arrowhead. So I'm going to change it to, I like them to be really thin arrowheads that are filled in. So I'm going to choose a 15-degree arrowhead filled in and click OK. And that's how it looks now. So you can experiment however you want. Your text can look however you like it to look. You can change the font, the size, the arrowhead, anything you want. But that's how you would do a call out. So now if we wanted to, we could also do chair. I think we'll eventually get rid of the chair because it doesn't really belong in the bathroom. But now if you click the text and then you click on the actual text, you can change this to chair. Hit delete and chair. And then click outside, and there you go. And now you can drag it around wherever you want. There's the chair. Another thing we could do with text is we could just call out the tile if we wanted. 12-inch by 24-inch tile. And we could drag. If you want, we could tab select the big circle here and move it over just a touch so that we can call out the tile in this room. But you can really, it's whatever you want. So the reason we do an enlarged plan is so that you can start calling out specifics about the finishes. So for now, just know that you can do that. I don't need you to you don't have to call out anything right now if you don't want to. It's particularly helpful in the interior elevations. So let's look at the interior elevations. We want them to match the scale of their plan. So we're going to change the scale here. I'm going to double click to activate this elevation. I'm going to change the scale down here. Oh, and it looks like, if you remember, we've applied an interior elevation template to these views in the previous exercise. So I can't change the scale right now. So in order to do that, I need to go back over here to the view template and click on it. And one of the settings in here is the view scale. So let's change that to 3/8 and click OK. And it's going to do that to all of our interior elevations. So now they're a little too close. There we go. So let's do another thing. Let's go to here. Let's click on this view and let's do a masking region. Let's draw a rectangle and let's fake our countertop. And click OK. Now it looks like there's a countertop in there, even though there isn't. Then if we wanted to, we could do text. And we can choose to put an arrow in right from the beginning. So let's click that. Let's do matte black faucet. Right, let's call out the color of the faucet. And let's make this multi-line. Let's just drag the text box over so it takes up a couple lines. Then over here, we can center justify it if we want. We also want our 1/16 inch. So let's change it to 1/16. Let's put this down here and let's go up here. I don't like how the leader comes out the top line. If you come over here, you can change so it goes to the center. And we can also add another leader line. And then we can pick both faucets. And there you go. Another thing you could do if you wanted, you could turn on shadows in here like we've done in the elevations, like the exterior elevations. You could also turn the colors on. So if you had accent walls that are certain colors, you could see the colors. But for now, that basically gets us through most of our annotations. If you look at the annotation tag or tab, we've talked about text, we've talked about tags, and the rest of the stuff we probably aren't going to go into in this course. The detailed regions, the dimensions, and the detail lines are all things you would probably want to use fairly often. The rest of the annotations are probably for a more advanced class. So that probably concludes our annotating enlarged plans and interior elevations. The only thing you're going to want to do before you ever turn something into me is make sure the sheets look good. So now, say we've annotated our views and we've got everything in them that we want. Now we need to arrange them in a logical manner. So let's come over here. So let's do our floor plan for the bathroom, and then we'll do the elevations, and we'll just line them up nicely. Like this. You know what? There's one more thing I probably want to teach you. If I double click and activate this elevation, there is one more tag, and it's called a material tag. If you go up here, you can click on it and hover over any part of anything and it will pull the material up that's assigned to it. If there's a question mark, it's because you probably don't have a material assigned to it yet. But you remember when we built the walls, we assigned a material to the wall and it was gypsum wallboard. And you can see if I hover over that, it will tag the material. You can also, before you click, come over here and hit leader. And then you can create a leader line. So now if I wanted to tag that, I could easily do so like that. So now it's pointing to the wall and it's saying this is gypsum wallboard. Or if you had painted this, if you had done painted wallboard, it would say painted wallboard. Or if you called it black painted gypboard, it would say black. So whatever you've assigned, whatever material you've assigned, it will call out. And so that's probably something that's semi-important for interior designers to know. Okay, so let's go back to arranging these. So we've got the floor plan. We've got these in a nice order as if you were turning around in the room. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very nice, very logical. Everything lines up. The view names line up. The views line up. It looks really good. So maybe what we would do is the next bathroom would be next to it. And you would make elevations and stack them next to each other. And because this one's a little larger, the view's down a little bit. So let's just make these all line up. Right? Because you want the sheet, again, you have to think you're a little bit of an artist when you're putting sheets together. It's nice when everything's orderly. So then the primary bedroom would go underneath that. And this view would come up here. And we want to change the end here. And then we could line up all of the interior elevations. And I like to keep, as best as I can, the same spacing between each view. So now it looks nice and orderly. Then again, on the sheet, you can go back up here to the detail line. And we can let's pick a wide line. And let's divide. Let's divide that up like that. In fact, I would even do a detail line between this room and this room. That way you know all of that bathroom is right there. And I would even maybe align them in the box a little bit better like that. So now you can put the interior elevations here for this room. This room's all here. And then we could continue this down. We could do another detail line. Across there like that. Let's pull it down just a little bit. Now you can clearly see all this room is in this box, and let's kind of just make that look good. Okay. As part of your assignment for this module, you'll finish this out, but for now, you at least know how to do all the annotations you would need for this part of the project.